They dress you in white, 4 attendants, none of them speaking. The silk is heavy and cold against your skin, the color chosen not for purity but for passage. One of them pins a jade comb into your hair, 43 grams, you know, because you once held it during the burial inventory 3 months ago, turning it over in your hands while the record keeper called out weights and you wrote them in a ledger. You wrote it down. You catalogued your own grave goods and did not know it. The incense burning in the corner is sandalwood cut with camphor. That particular blend is used only for imperial transitions. You have smelled it twice before, once when the emperor's mother died, once during a ceremony you were not supposed to witness and pretended you had not. Now it fills the room and fills your lungs, and the smell means what it has always meant. Something is closing. 11 red silk cords are laid out on the table beside the bronze mirror. 11 names were read this morning. Yours was third. You do not weep. You have been watching yourself for the last hour, waiting for tears, and they have not come. That is what frightens you more than anything in this room. Not the chords, not the comb, not the drums starting outside with their low, patient rhythm. The fear is this: you were trained for today, and the training worked. You arrived at the palace gate when you were young enough to still be carrying a wooden box with a flute inside it. Your mother pressed it into your hands at the gate. You remember the grain of the wood against your palms, the way the latch was slightly loose and rattled when you walked. The gate official took it from you before you crossed the threshold. Instruments from outside were not permitted. You never asked for it back. Within a month, you had stopped thinking about it, and within a year, you had stopped missing it, and somewhere in the years after that, you had stopped remembering it existed at all. You remember it now while an attendant draws silk through your hair, and the drums grow louder. The memory surfaces the way a body surfaces in still water. Slow, then suddenly all at once. The procession corridor is 40 paces long. You know because you count them. Counting is what you do when the alternative is coming apart, and you have been counting things in this palace for years. Steps between chambers, days between ceremonies, grams of jade in a burial inventory. The 11 of you move at 12 steps per minute, the correct ceremonial pace, and red lanterns hang overhead throwing rust orange light on everyone's skin, making you all look feverish, already half translated into something else. You recognize 8 of the women by name. 2 you have only seen at formal ceremonies, faces memorized from a distance. The 11th is older, May, who served the emperor's mother before reassignment, who you have watched for years with the particular attention you give to women who seem to know more than they say. As the procession forms, May catches your eye and holds it for exactly 1 second longer than protocol allows. You file it away. The senior eunuch reads the proclamation. His voice is practiced and smooth, the language of the text extraordinary in its precision. Each of you is described as a voluntary offering of devotion, a phrase used in imperial burial records across centuries, voluntary. You have heard that word your entire life in this palace. You have never examined it before. Examining it now feels like pressing a bruise, not pain exactly, but the sudden awareness of damage underneath. The tomb entrance is cut into a hillside 3 li from the palace grounds. The antechamber holds all 11 of you, the officiants, and a wall of lacquered cedar boxes, grave goods stacked to the ceiling, silk bolts, bronze vessels, ceramic figures of horses and servants, enough to furnish a second life for a man who will never use any of it. The smell coming from the tomb entrance is cold stone and mineral dark and old incense, the smell of permanence, of sealed things, of air that has nowhere to go. May positions herself beside you. She does not look at you. Her lips barely move. 5 words, there is a servant's passage. Then she looks forward, her face composed as if she has said nothing, as if she is simply standing and waiting to die with grace and intention, which is what every woman in this room has been trained to do. You do not respond. You stare at the east wall where the cedar boxes are stacked, where the cedar grain makes a pattern like a river on a map. The officiants begin the blessing. Each of the 11 kneels before the chief mourning officer and receives a cup of ceremonial wine. You watch the first 3 drink, you watch them stand. Nothing happens to them, they are not sedated. You will be conscious for everything, which means the thing you feared was not the worst thing. The worst thing is walking into the dark, knowing exactly where you are going. When you kneel, you see it behind the silk, hanging on the east wall. A door, barely 4 hands wide, cut flush with the stone. A servant's passage, 12 feet away. In 4 minutes, the procession will move you in the opposite direction. You drink the wine, you stand, you do not move toward the door. Not move. You are calculating, and the fact of the calculation is itself something new, something without a name in any language you were taught in this palace. Inside the tomb's first chamber, the emperor's coffin sits at the center. Black lacquer, 9 feet long, jade dragons inlaid on the lid. each scale individually set, hundreds of hours of work for something being buried in the earth. The officiants withdraw. The 11 of you are arranged around it. The stone door behind you begins its movement, massive and slow, and without hesitation it stops at 3/4. Light still enters, time still exists. May moves to the east wall. Her palms press along the stone, reading it. She finds the seam. She looks at you, and in her face is not desperation, but the calm, specific focus of someone executing a plan that has been running for months beneath the surface of every ceremony, every correct gesture, every voluntary offering of devotion. 3 of the women are watching. One, older, whose devotion is not performance but genuine conviction, looks at May with something close to pity. She will not stop you, but the look in her eyes will stay with you for the rest of your life, however long that turns out to be, because she is not a villain and she is not a fool. She simply wants something different from the same situation, and there is no clean resolution to that, only the fact of it. May gets the door open. The smell that comes through is wet stone and rot, functional, not sacred, the smell of the passages used by workers who built this place and then were sent away, or not. You go second. A third woman, young, barely trained, whose name you do not yet know, follows without speaking. 20 feet in, the stone door finishes moving. The sound travels through rock and into your chest. A single low percussion that means close, that means complete. That means the count is happening now on the other side, and 3 are missing. May does not slow down. She understood this would happen. She did not tell you because you would have paused, and pausing would have cost all 3 of you the window, and she needed you moving more than she needed you prepared. 70 feet from the exit, the tunnel drops, 4 feet down into standing water. The drainage flooded from recent rain, knee deep, the cold of it immediate and absolute. May steps down and stumbles. The oil lamp she has been carrying, which she brought inside her sleeve because she has been planning this for days, hits the water and goes out, complete darkness, the sound of moving water, your own breathing and the breathing of 2 other people. The young woman beside you makes a sound that is not quite crying, a smaller than crying, more destroyed. You put your hand over her mouth, not cruelly, because sound travels through stone, and you have perhaps 4 minutes, and you are not willing to spend them being found. You take the lead. You do not know the exact path. You move anyway, one hand on the wall, counting steps, because counting is what you do when the alternative is unraveling, and you have survived this long by refusing to unravel, and you are not going to stop now. At 140 steps, your hand finds a door frame, wood gone soft with moisture, the grain giving under pressure. You push, it holds. You put your shoulder into it and push again, and the door opens into gray light and cold air, and the smell of grass and mud and distance, real distance, the kind with no walls on either side. The burial hill rises behind you, 30 feet of earth and stone between you and the tomb where 10 women are still standing. The drums continue. A bell sounds once far away. You have perhaps 2 minutes before the search moves this far. The sky is white with winter cloud. It is midday. You have been underground for 38 minutes. Your white silk funeral dress is gray at the hem, soaked, torn at the shoulder. You look exactly like what you are, a woman who was supposed to be sealed in the earth and is instead standing in cold air, breathing. May moves north immediately. She has a card arranged, a contact, a direction, a plan that extends past this moment because she has been building it in secret for longer than you have been conscious that escape was a thing you wanted. You follow. The young woman, whose name is Shu, has a mother and 2 brothers in the city 4 leagues south and a life that was interrupted but not finished, and she knows roads and you are grateful for that. The cart is covered with grain sacks. The driver does not look at any of you. You climb in and pull the sacks over you, and the cart begins to move, and you do not know where it is going, and you find that you can tolerate not knowing, which is new, which is perhaps the first purely new thing you have felt in years. Under the grain sacks, in the dark of the moving cart, your hand finds something wedged against the wooden slat beside you. A box, rectangular, plain, 8 inches long, the wood darker with age. You open it. Inside is a flute, not your flute, someone else's older, but the same shape, the same weight, the particular balance of something made to be held and played and carried out of places you were not supposed to leave. You bring it to your lips. You play 1 note, barely a breath, barely a sound. But it is clean and it is real and it belongs entirely to you. The whole machinery of the imperial court, the ceremonies, the white silk, the catalogued jade, the voluntary offerings, the careful and beautiful and suffocating devotion to a world that was always planning to seal you inside it, all of it could not prepare you for this single fact, that you were going to want to live and that wanting to live was going to be enough. Historians believe the practice of burying living attendants with Chinese emperors continued across multiple dynasties, with some imperial tombs thought to hold individuals who died not by violence, but simply by waiting for the air to run out. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.